Hi guys, if you're watching this video, you're probably thinking of moving to Boston. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about where to live in Boston or where to live outside of Boston. So my name is Frank Carroll of the Frank Carroll Homes team at Compass. I work in the Back Bay office. Please be sure to like my page, follow my page, comment my videos. You can call me or email me or text me anytime to discuss the city of Boston or Boston real estate, or you move here. It would be my pleasure to help you. So Boston is one of the oldest cities in the country. Given this, it is traditionally there's been less of a supply and a higher demand because it's such an old city and it's hard to develop properties when there are landmark districts where the properties are protected and you can't really build over a certain height or a certain type of property. So given this information, the supply is definitely, lower than it could be, and it definitely increases the prices greatly. Given we have such a diversity of industries, we have many different colleges, universities, we have an influx of people from all over the world that come here. So before we go into detail about different locations in Boston, you really have to ask yourself, what is most important to you? Is it being commutable to your workplace? Is it having outdoor space? Is it being convenient to grocery stores and restaurants? Is it being in a good school system? Is it having a water view? Is it having a full service luxury concierge building? Is it having new construction versus an old row house with a wood burning fireplace? So all these are factors that'll influence what areas to consider within Boston. Boston is a very old city. We have many areas like Back Bay, Beacon Hill, which have buildings that are as old as 200 years old or 150 years old. And then you have areas like the Seaport, which have new construction, large apartment complexes loaded with amenities, garage parking, some have water views. There's definitely a smorgasbord of choices in the city, and it could be a little overwhelming when you're new here, given there's such a diversity of locations and each one offers a different flavor. So a lot of it has to do with your priorities, and I can help to narrow them down, the areas down, so you know which are the best that may work for your situation. So starting out with the center of Boston, we have areas like Back Bay, Beacon Hill, South End, Seaport. These are areas that are, some of which are very old. Back Bay is one of the most popular areas that most people that come to the city to visit tend to hang out in because it's full of stores, restaurants, parks, the Charles River, the Boston Esplanade, the Boston Public Garden. You have Newbury Street, shops and restaurants. You have some beautiful architecture and some really grand buildings that are there as well. So because of that, the prices tend to be very high. You're paying for the address, so rental could be an average of $3,000 or $3,500 a month. Purchase averages around $1 million, give or take. So that just gives you an idea of the Back Bay. People also like Beacon Hill, which is a very old part of Boston, very postcard Boston, adjacent to the Common and the Public Garden and the river as well. You have Mass General Hospital, you have the West End, which is next to it. So there are a lot of medical people that love Beacon Hill. Also people that like character, that want a fireplace and moldings and hardwood floors and that character of almost like London would love Beacon Hill as well. So a lot of Europeans tend to gravitate toward this location as well. A lot of my English clients fall in love with Beacon Hill. South End is another area that's very village-like. I live there myself and I absolutely love it. It's full of a diversity of housing and people and restaurants. It's known for its dining scene. It's known for its parks. It's known for the SOA art galleries, the different markets that are every weekend in the summertime. So it has a really good mix of things to do and beautiful Victorian row houses and also newer construction lofts in the ink block area. You have complexes and apartment buildings and a whole new neighborhood that was created in the last 5 years or so. Other areas to consider would be South Boston, which used to be, the Irish area of Boston, but it's sort of a dated image of what South Boston is, which is now like a very young professional area with a lot of newer construction, smaller buildings like 3 stories. Very, very big area. You have beaches alongside it. You have the Broadway T station and the Andrew Square station, which are the train stations that service South Boston. There's also a tremendous amount of development that's slated for this area as well in the next couple of years. So it's a rapidly changing location and very popular and a little bit more affordable than the Back Bay, South End, or Beacon Hill. Adjacent to the financial district, you have the North End, which is considered the Italian area of Boston. So it's known for Hanover Street, shops, cafes, lots of good gelato, lots of good baked goods, bakeries, Italian markets. It can be very touristy in the summertime, but has tremendous character. It's one of the most European areas in the city, and it's one of the areas that you go to, you could get lost because the streets are so random, but have tremendous character to them, and also tremendous history too, the North End does. Directly across the North End, over the bridge, you have Charlestown, which is almost like an island. You have the Charlestown Navy Yard, which has a lot of larger apartment complexes and condo buildings, popular among people who like to boat, that want a boat slip. Then you have the older part of Charlestown, which is one of the oldest neighborhoods in Boston. It goes back hundreds of years, and you have some beautiful streets with central parks like Monument Square. You have many different new construction condos, apartment complexes. It tends to be very popular among young professionals and families. We have the Seaport District, which used to be an area of parking lots. And over the last 7 to 10 years, it's really developed rapidly into one of the most popular and hip areas with lots of restaurants. It's right on the water. You have the Institute for Contemporary Art. You have many great stores. You have a good diversity of housing. But it's also kind of, the least Boston-like location within the city. So if you want a modern concierge complex, it's great. If you want to be walking distance to work, if you happen to be working in that location or downtown, it's wonderful. You're also close to the airport as well. So if you're commuting, if you're going out on business trips, it's really convenient to be in Seaport. If you wanted to save money and have the view of the Seaport, you could live in East Boston, which is only one train stop away from the Aquarium stop, which is right in the heart of Boston, to Maverick Station. You have Jeffries Point, you have Eagle Hill, and you have Orient Heights. Jeffries Point is the waterfront area with a lot of large apartment complexes. And also you have, smaller 3-story buildings with really affordable condos and apartments. So you could buy in East Boston for, say, $400,000 and get a 1 or 2 bedroom or rent an apartment there for $2,000 a month, versus the Back Bay, South End, which the average rent could be $300 to $3,500 a month. So definitely a good value, and also great views and a good diversity of food and people. If you wanted to save even more money, you can go outside of East Boston to Chelsea or Revere, which is a little bit further out of the city, but also very affordable. If you wanted to go to an area of a lot of greenery and beautiful parks, Jamaica Plain would be that location. That's part of the Emerald Necklace. You have Jamaica Pond. You have a lot of really good diversity. There's very dog friendly. It's a very small town feeling of Jamaica Plain. People that work at Longwood Medical area tend to love it because they could be there in a very short period of time. And it's also, there's areas from the pond side which tend to be pricey to areas toward Washington Street, which are much more affordable. And there's also good new construction opportunities, and it's, relatively speaking, more affordable part of the city. And if you wanted to save even more money, you can go to ROSLINDALE, which is adjacent to Jamaica Plain. It's also a lot more affordable and has similar stock of housing. ROSLINDALE Square is a really great location with a lot of great restaurants and options, and it's also T accessible. The commuter rail is there. And as far as driving to downtown, it's maybe a 30-minute drive or 40-minute drive at the most with traffic. Other areas to think about within Boston would be Roxbury, Dorchester, which are, more affordable, very big neighborhoods with a lot of sub areas within them. Like Dorchester, for example, has Savin Hill, which is the closest part to South Boston, where there's a train station on the Red Line. A lot of newer construction, triple deckers, large single families. So it almost has a suburban feeling, but it's still urban. Roxbury is an up and coming area, very popular if you wanted to save money. Also a really great diversity of people there. and a lot of great history. Roxbury is one of the oldest areas. It used to be farmland back in the 1800s and became more of an urban area in the last 50 to 100 years or so. As far as other locations within Boston, I would say consider Brookline, which is technically not Boston. It's right next to Boston. It has some of the best school systems in the country, best elementary schools and high schools. Longwood Medical is a part of it, so doctors love it, families love it, people coming from the middle of the city, they're starting families, love it too, because you can get a really nice condo or a single family. Prices tend to be very high because of the school system, so taxes could be a bit higher because you're paying for those school systems. So Brookline has Coolidge Corner, which is one of the most central areas. It has Brookline Village, it has Washington Square, it has the area by the reservoir, it has Chestnut Hill, which is a very suburban, very wealthy area. If you wanted to live in Cambridge, Cambridge is another area. Definitely Harvard and MIT have a big influence there. They're the largest employers of Cambridge, and you have also a very good diversity of housing, from walk-up buildings to high-rise buildings to lofts. It's very different feeling than Boston, Cambridge. People say you need a passport to go to Cambridge from Boston. It's a very liberal, bike lover city, dog lovers, good diversity of people, definitely very smart people that live in Cambridge as well. You have the Red Line, which runs right through it, which connects a lot of different areas from Alewife to Porter Square, Harvard Square, Kendall Square, East Cambridge. You have the Green Line extension, which is opening in the next year or two, which will be dramatically different as far as commutability. And then you have Somerville, which is right next to Cambridge. People used to call that the Brooklyn of Boston. I think that's not the most accurate description of Somerville. I think it's one of the most densely populated parts just outside the city. It's very, very popular. There tend to be a lot of bidding wars because people that want to be close to the city, definitely saving a little bit on the real estate prices relative to Bat Bay, Beacon Hill, but it's definitely not cheap, and a good diversity as well of people. Then you have suburban areas, which it's not really my specialty, but if you wanted to explore areas just outside of the city, we have Newton, which is popular among families because of, again, the school systems are excellent. It's a very big city with, Newton Center and Waban and many different areas that each have their own flavor. We have Sudbury, we have Waltham, we have, the North Shore, the South Shore. So there's just endless options for different types of towns. And you could live in Melrose and get a single family for, say, $700,000. You could live in Medford and get a single family for $650K. You could live on the North Shore in Marblehead and be on the water if you like sailing and get a single family maybe for $900,000. You could live south of Boston in Quincy, which is much more affordable and on the Red Line. So there are just a diversity of options, and my company is has a great presence in Boston and Greater Boston. And if you ever need a broker to specialize in a specific town that I don't handle, I could refer you to one of the Compass agents that are very trustworthy. We have some amazing people that work at my company. So all in all, this is just a general overview of places within Boston. I wanted to give you a general idea of what your options are. So please be sure to like my page, follow my page, contact me anytime with your questions. Call me, text me, email me. Go to my website, frankharoldhomes.com. I can set you up with daily updates. I could send you market data. I could send you neighborhood information. And it'll be my pleasure to help you. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to talking to you soon.